This is Disha here. This new channel that we have started, we are inviting people from the startup world, be it the VCs, accelerators, investors, entrepreneurs who have created a niche for themselves with their innovation.
Okay. Hi, I'm Shivam. So today we have somebody very interesting. He's Mr. Harsh Parikh. He's the co-founder of DRiefcase. Now, what is DRiefcase? It is basically what comes out when two investment bankers working in the one of the most best firms in the world leave after 10 years, leave their jobs and come up with a startup. So DRiefcase is basically a service which allows you to scan all your medical documents and store them safely on a digital platform. So it is a very basic and a very interesting idea, and at least I've not heard of it being done before. Now, for the doctors also, they have a platform. For the doctors, they allow them to maintain all their patient records, and they help them in streamlining their appointments and managements and everything. So I won't give it much. I'll invite Mr. Harsh Parikh to come up and tell us about his idea. So without further ado, we'll invite him. So hi, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you, Shivam? Hi, Disha.
So what prompted you to shift from working as an investment banker for about 10 years and then starting on your own? And like, what was the biggest challenge that you faced while making the shift?
Well, it was a mix of push and pull factors. So on the push side, 10 years of investment banking, there was a little bit of burnout. I was enjoying the job, but yeah, there was a feeling of been there, done that. And then the idea came along. It was actually my co-founder's idea. The idea that fundamental idea that healthcare is probably the one aspect of life that hasn't gone digital. Like look at finance, travel and tourism, everything's going digital. And healthcare at that even today continues to run significantly on paper. So the idea of helping healthcare going digital sounded like a next challenge.
So what was the
yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was saying, what was the most major difference you felt from changing from a corporate office and going on and starting on your own?
Oh, massive. What we don't realize while working in a corporate office is that everybody has their jobs laid out for them. It's a well-oiled machine. Everybody, when they walk in and start their jobs, they know HR को अपना काम करना है, services को अपना काम करना है, infra को अपना काम करना है. Frontline workers have their jobs and descriptions rolled out. In a new office, you have to live it up, especially when it's your office. And there are 1,000 things that you already thought of on day one, which if not allocated to anybody, you have to do them. Simply put, in an office which is like 6 people strong, and one day water come from the BMC, and now you're wondering, what do I do? Where do we get tanker water from in this place? Like you are the CEO, you are the boss, but you also have to become the chapran, as a several if nobody can do it, you have to do it. It is at the end of the day, all responsibilities of the office fall into you. So that is one. Obviously, the comforts are very different. We were bootstrapped, so obviously we had eyes on costs. Like several other startups who start off in a WeWork or 91 Springboard, we started off in a small, humble office. And so obviously you miss the nice coffee machines and spaced out furniture, the comforts and breakout zones and all of that. But it's yours. It's your own thing. When you watch the camaraderie in our picnics, when you watch the team gel together, it's a great feeling. It's something else.
So even the even the coffee machine is something you're missing.
Oh, obviously, absolutely. I'm personally a huge coffee lover, and when in office I used to actually make it a point to make my coffee my way. Like a lot of my colleagues would have the office staff make their coffee, not for me. I am quite particular how it needs to be made.
Disha, your question. Hello, Disha.
What was the biggest challenge while making the shift? What are challenges that you faced when you started on your own?
The first one obviously was at a personal level. Because what you don't realize is that when you're in a nice job, the comfort that it gives to people at home, your parents. I have older siblings, that हाँ बच्चा set है, अच्छी job में, अच्छी company में, and now he wants to move out. I mean, what is he talking? Is he drunk? Simply put, I mean, those are the kind of questions that parents, senior relatives kind of throw up. That what are you doing? Are you sure you know what you're doing? So the biggest challenge was that convincing the family that it's a good thing to leave a very well-paying job at Bank of America Merrill Lynch to jump into a startup, a bootstrap startup, where I won't be earning money but burning it for a fairly long time. So that was probably the biggest challenge. Second, thankfully, it was just two of us. So when they say, "Na, you want to jump off a cliff, and if you do it alone, it takes effort. But if there's someone to jump together with you, to ho jata hai." So I greatly owe it to my co-founder for when we jumped off the cliff, we did it together.
So
By myself, I really don't think I would have been able to do it.
no, so basically you've already told us that basically you got a whole, but the idea is quite genuine, like idea is quite a genius idea, but I don't think anyone else is doing this. At least on the patient side, there's no other app or no one else who's done this concept. How did you come about this idea? How about you thought, okay, all these documents should be digitized?
It's definitely not an original idea, and definitely not a first. So there are and there were people who tried. Some are still in the market, have pivoted, some have shut down. What we felt was different about us, or if the question can be reworded to say as to why we thought or we think that we will work out, is because we realized that digitizing medical records is not about technology. It is a lot about getting that last mile connection with the patient. Healthcare in India is, be it on the doctor side or the patient side, is a very relationship-driven ecosystem. Patient or doctor ka relationship होता है. Forget that. You have relationship with your local chemists. I mean, my mom, she refuses to move to an e-pharmacy because she is on great terms with the local chemist and she refuses to let him go out of business. So understanding that is extremely critical. And to fill in that gap on medical records, we actually have a home scanning service. It adds a human touch to the service. There are two things that play out in that. One is, obviously there is a person. There is someone who is coming home. There is someone who is going to talk to the person, to the patient, which is the records scan or a scan. So there is that inherent trust. Somehow, when it comes to healthcare, we find it really difficult to trust machines altogether. The moment there is a human aspect to it, it becomes believable. Second, it actually takes care of inertia. An anecdote that I have used often, I'm going to use it again. We live in a world where people take 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do up their hair, do up the lights, do up everything else, so that a selfie can be taken of a particular meal, simply put. We will not spend 20 seconds to take a photograph of a prescription after getting out of a doctor's office. It's sad in some sense, right? Because there are so many times personally that I felt, hey, haan, ye prescription hota. I mean, I have a 4-year-old daughter. I have, you need these things on and off. So that is the culture we live with. And it's not only India, anywhere in the world. So instead, if there's someone who can get you started, like imagine if you personally have 200 documents at home, and I tell you that today is a Friday, we are all in a lockdown. You all have ample free time. Why don't you go ahead and scan those documents? You scan 20 documents a day, and by the time the lockdown lifts, you will have at least scanned all your medical records. I can guarantee you nothing will happen. But if I tell you that I'm going to come and scan all of them, next time you go to a doctor, are you likely to take that photograph? That inertia gets taken care of. So that's the whole idea. So that's what we started with in 2016.
So it's about decluttering and so that initial inertia, all the bundles that somebody would have to scan, that's where you're helping the most.
Absolutely. So to target that inertia itself, we've actually moved into the clinic management space as well. Because the idea is that the doctor, we realized in our communications with doctors, even as part of DRiefcase, we realized that The need of record management is acute, not only at the patient side, but even at the doctor's side. For a variety of reasons, doctors now want to get into record management of their patient records. So why not, if the doctor is going to capture them and he has a commercial incentive to do that, so might as well make it available to the patient, the way it works in the US, right? That's how the US markets work. Doctors make meticulous records so that insurance companies can look at them, but they're made available to patients. So with the same concept in mind, we've created DRiefcase Connect.
Disrupt the market, like you collaborated with the hospitals, or how did you go about with it? You spoke to the doctors, but along with it, did you speak to the major hospitals to make it B2B?
No, so DRiefcase Connect is not a hospital management system. It actually targets the next level. So if you ask me, is it a software that can run a Medanta or a Fortis chain of hospitals? Then the answer is no. It's not built for that. What it is built for is your second tier of hospitals. Let's say hospitals that exist, like in Bombay, you have a lot of hospitals which are like in a single floor of a building in a residential area. Someone's taken like 4-5 room two flats with 8 rooms, converted them. One is an OP, one is an OPD, and there are 3 or 4 beds or 10 beds depending on the size. That and these hospitals could be single specialty, dual specialty, or sometimes multi-speciality, but that is actually our target market, along with obviously the single practitioners, because hospital records people actually take a lot of care of. It is the second level records that start getting generated, which are generally in 1s, 2s, 3s, and those when these hospitals, there are not as many softwares to kind of target this segment. Like the commercial hospital management systems for such a small hospital can become very, very expensive.
So of course you're charged with the patient's medical data, and of course it raises quite a bit of concerns of confidentiality and how you're going to protect it, because it's something very personal to the patients. So how do you take care of the privacy concerns which the patients or the persons using your app might have?
So given our background from Bank of America, we carry the same DNA into DRiefcase. Both Sohit and I, both of us, extremely cautious. So to start with, if you had to register on DRiefcase on the app, we don't even use, like a lot of soft systems use most of them rather use mobile and OTP. We use email because mobile numbers theoretically can change or be abandoned. Email can never be abandoned. You can stop using it, but your email ID is yours for life. It doesn't get reallocated to anybody else ever. So we use an email-based system. Starting from that, going into the systems, your data is as safe as your credit card details when you're entering it on Flipkart or Amazon. The same level dual encryption at rest, HTTPS protocols followed. In fact, we've even taken additional softwares for the purpose of siloing the data, which is on Amazon servers again. And then even at the operating level, when the team comes home to scan your medical records, even at that time, if you look at the laptops that they use, they are disabled to use anything other than DRiefcase software. So even if let's say the employee doesn't have any malified intent, but laptop gets stolen on the way, the thief will only have to reformat the hard disk. The data will be lost, but privacy will not be broken.
What all services do you offer to the doctors? Like you do offer services to the patient, which is quite straightforward. But apart from that, what all services does doctors?
On the doctor side, DRiefcase Connect is a fairly comprehensive platform, because we realize that if we start off as an e-prescription platform, which is fairly common, not every doctor is going to jump into typing a prescription. I mean, forget senior doctors, but even junior. If you talk to junior doctors also, the time it takes to type a prescription is at least 3 to 4 times what it takes to write it down. Everything else remaining constant. So can any e-prescription software beat a Word document? It's difficult. Run the Word document, sorry, pen and paper physical document, difficult. Having said that, the need for software is different. So we've made it comprehensive, starting from if the doctor wants to just take a photocopy of a handwritten prescription, because they may not want to type a prescription, but keeping a scanned PDF can be very useful to refer to what I have written earlier. So that is something that we have. You can take all kinds of records. You can take down videos, you can take down audios, any type of record. Record management is our DNA. The other part is we have a system of e-forms, which is something that is unique to us. You can design any number of e-forms that you can use for your own practice, fully customized to your requirements. A lot of people asked us, you don't have, a lot of softwares have gynecology module and cardiology module and nephrology module. We don't have any modules. We don't customize to a type of doctor, we customize to a doctor. Every doctor gets to customize his forms the way he wants it, the kind of question he wants to ask, and how he wants to capture the data. And these can either be filled up by the patient or the doctor. Both possibilities exist, or even by an assistant in the waiting room. So, so that brings in a very, very high degree of customization to the software. And then your usual bells and whistles, which exist: billing, inventory management, appointments, of course. And now what we've done is, given the requirements in the lockdown, we've now, over the last few weeks, added even a teleconsultation module, wherein we've also included a tie-up with Paytm to manage payments as well, which can be used not only for teleconsultation, but even for regular payments as well. So that is the gamut of services that we offer to doctors. And along with that, given we're handling payments and billing, we can also handle receivable management. So because a common complaint that comes from doctors often is that people say, 1,000 rupee consultation fee, I don't have change, I forgot to carry my wallet, blah, blah, blah. Next time aake de dunga, and it never happens. So the idea is to be comprehensive. Different doctors will have different pain points. Entry into the clinic can only happen when you can handle one of those, not otherwise.
How do you decode a doctor's handwriting in the prescription, which is so ineligible? Like my sister is a doctor, but her friend's handwritings are so bad that she doesn't even take the notes.
So, which is why I said, okay, someone who is, and typically one thing you might have noticed of people with bad handwriting is they're very fast writers. They are never going to type, but they have to understand their handwriting. I don't have to do it. As long as the assistant or the doctor has to take a photograph and they have a reference of what they've written for their patient. Now, it could be because, like, we have a pulmonologist in our panel of doctors, and he started using DRiefcase. Why? Because he used to write 2 pages of notes for each of his patients in every visit. Like, he'd ask everything and keep writing at the same time. And his common complaint was his patients would come back and say, we forgot, we lost it, uspe chai gir gayi, all kinds of nonsense. And then he I have to rewrite everything because he wouldn't remember. So he had to re-ask the same questions again. Instead, now his assistant takes a photograph of those records. So now he has them in front of him. It's something very common. My own general physician, he had actually given me an anecdote. He gets a call in the middle of the night, and this is something even I'm guilty of, saying that, doctor, this is Mrs. Shah here. And he is wondering which Mrs. Shah is actually calling him at 11 o'clock at night. Here instead, now if he has a scanned copy of these records that he can open on his phone and check before he blurts out anything, without even remembering who Mrs. Shah is or who Mr. Harsh Parikh, blah, blah, blah. He can now look it up, refresh his memory, and then give advice in a more informed manner. So the idea is not to start typing on day one. That day will come. Hopefully it will come. I'm sure it will come. But even if you can start giving them a scanned copy of their own writing, it's a huge service to them.
But how has been your experience in pitching your idea to patients, doctors, and even investors, and how were they skeptical?
It's an absolute roller coaster. There are days when, yes, you're on the high, you have like 4 meetings in a day, and all of the 4 of them sign up by the evening, and you're absolutely on a roll. And there are days when you have like either no meetings that whole day or meetings get cancelled. It's part and parcel of the job. Any sales job, it's like any typical sales job. The day you make the sell, it has a massive kick. You're absolutely on a roll, and then you have a dry spell, and you need to do something to keep your spirits up.
So, and what about the investors? Have you taken up funding as of now?
No, we're completely bootstrapped at the moment. funding will be is on the cards after the lockdown opens up.
All the best for that, sir.
Thank you.
So tell us about your team.
So we're a small team. We're a 16 strong team. 5 full-time techies for product development. An office manager, a couple of people on sales and customer service, and the rest are scanning and data entry at the back end.
Sir, anything in the end you want to tell our viewers?
It's been a great ride. Yes, if a question ever comes up, do I regret leaving Bank of America for this? The answer is it's been an absolute pleasure to have started DRiefcase, to have brought it to where it is today, and hopefully after the lockdown, the pandemic we have has brought in new challenges, but at the same time, it's also brought us new opportunities for those in the healthcare space. So, wishing everyone a safe 2020.
I mean, like your startup otherwise. Is
Sorry?
it actually helping? How has lockdown affected you? Is it giving you more opportunities or just giving you a stuff?
Bits and pieces of both. So obviously we can't go out. My sales team is sitting at home and we can't enroll doctors at the same speed. But when we keep talking to them, what we realize is that there is an inherent realization among the community as a whole that we need to move to digital. Like those doctors who are already comfortable with telemedicine, doctors who are comfortable using WhatsApp and using providing prescriptions, using softwares, etc. At least have some practice that is going. Others have actually had to literally shut shop. So there is this increasing realization that yes, healthcare will eventually move digital, and it will probably be sooner than later. So that process has definitely been accelerated. Plus, what will also happen if you think about it? Try imagining a waiting area of a busy doctor in the post-COVID world. I mean, it's not that if the lockdown lifts up in the coming months, people are going to start partying the next day. That's not going to happen. You're still going to avoid crowds. You're going to avoid public areas. So imagine a waiting room that had 20 patients crammed with each other, patients and caretakers crammed next to each other. Now you're not going to have more than 5. The rest will be asked to wait outside or not come at all. So where you can use telemedicine, maybe not for a first meeting, but maybe for a follow-up meeting or for solving a query, instead of showing up at a doctor physically, where you can, for a second meeting or a third meeting, use telemedicine and cut down the crowd in the waiting room. It will happen. Doctors will be forced to do it, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Shivam. Thanks, Tisha.
Anything else?